Have you ever felt that something was wrong, but didn't know exactly what? Have you ever had that strange feeling around someone, as if your energy was being drained, even without any fight or conflict? You try to be kind, understanding, even generous, but inexplicably, you come out of those interactions more tired, more insecure, more lost. And the scariest part, you keep going back. You keep exposing yourself. You keep pretending you don't notice. And what if I told you that this is not a coincidence? That there are people around you who pretend to support you, but deep down, they hate you? People who can't stand to see your light and therefore do everything, subtly, silently, and strategically, to dim your shine. And worse, they know what they are doing, but you don't. You are so busy trying to keep the peace, being understanding, being evolved, that you don't see the poison dripping from the sweet words. And maybe that's why you keep being surrounded by people who sabotage you. Because there is still something inside you that refuses to see the truth. Something that prefers the illusion of a connection to facing the abyss of emotional betrayal. But enough. Enough of rationalizing aggression, disguised as concern. Enough of accepting emotional crumbs because you are afraid of being alone. This video is not for those who want to feel comfortable. It's for those who are tired of being manipulated by those who should support them. It's for those who want to learn to identify these false faces, understand what they reveal about themselves, and more importantly, discover how to cut this silent cycle of emotional draining. Because in the end, keeping these people in your life is not a sign of kindness. It's a symptom of self-sabotage. If you've ever suspected someone but never had the courage to confirm, if you feel surrounded by people who want you too well, but deep down are hoping for your downfall, then this video is for you. Not to comfort you, but to wake you up. It's easy to think that your enemies are far away. That danger comes from outside. That betrayal announces itself with shouts, arguments, scandals. But the real problem, the most insidious, the hardest to identify, is when the poison comes disguised as affection. When the hug carries invisible thorns. When the compliment is imbued with repressed anger. And the worst, when the one who stabs you smiles while doing it. Carl Jung called this dynamic the projection of the shadow. What does that mean? It means that people who lack the courage to deal with their own dark feelings, envy, frustration, insecurity, desire for control, will project all of that onto you. They will find disguised ways to belittle you, to pull you down, while pretending to support you. It's the colleague who jokes by calling you lucky, but never acknowledges your effort. It's the family member who says you've changed since you started to grow, using that argument to make you feel guilty for evolving. It's the friend who supports you up to a point, until the point where your success starts to highlight their failure. These people will not attack you directly. They know they can't. So they adopt the more subtle and dangerous strategy. They pretend to love you. And that's when you start to doubt yourself. You begin to wonder if you're exaggerating, if you're being paranoid, if you're seeing things that aren't there. But you are, in fact, seeing. You just don't want to admit it. Because admitting means accepting that someone close to you, someone you trusted, could be your emotional saboteur. And here comes the cruelest blow. These people are often the first to position themselves as victims. When you try to distance yourself, they say you're cold, ungrateful, distant. They flip the script. They make you feel like the villain for trying to protect your own sanity. This is not affection. This is disguised control. This is emotional vampirism camouflaged as empathy. But why do you allow this? Why do you tolerate this emotional theater? Perhaps because there is something in you that needs it. A part that feels comfortable in the familiarity of pain. And that is exactly what we will explore next. In the next part, we will turn the mirror and look with brutal honesty. What does this type of person reveal about you? And why, unconsciously, do you keep them close? If this content is making sense to you, click the subscribe button and subscribe to the channel. Thank you for your support. It's easy to point fingers, to say that the other is toxic, fake, envious. But Carl Jung warned us about an uncomfortable truth. Everything that irritates us about others can lead us to a better understanding of ourselves. The problem is never just with the other. If you attract this type of person into your life, people who drain your energy, who belittle you with smiles, who sabotage you under the pretense of supporting you, then the question you need to ask is, why? There is a part of you that allows this, that seeks this, that needs this. And it doesn't act out of malice. It acts out of habit, out of trauma, out of unconscious patterns. Perhaps you grew up hearing that you needed to always be available, always understanding, always the nice one. Maybe since you were little, you learned that being loved required giving up yourself. Perhaps you got used to relationships where affection always came with pain. So today, unconsciously, you repeat this cycle. You attract people who reinforce that old story, that you are only worth something if you are sacrificing yourself. These fake people around you act as mirrors. They show how much you still do not stand your ground, how much you fear displeasing others, how much guilt you feel for setting boundaries. And as long as you don't see this, you will continue to call what is actually emotional imprisonment friendship. You will keep confusing loyalty with submission, and you will continue to think you are being strong by enduring everything in silence, when, in fact, you are slowly destroying yourself. Jung said that the encounter with oneself is the only thing that any of us can try to avoid our whole lives. And maybe that's why you keep these people close. Because while you focus on their falseness, you don't have to look at your own omission. While you point out the poison in others, you don't have to face the wound within yourself that allows you to be poisoned. But here is the truth you need to hear. These relationships will not change. They exist to force you to change. The other only stops manipulating you when you stop submitting, when you finally take on your role in this game and decide to exit it. But before you leave, you need to understand the cost of staying. And that is what we will explore next. The invisible impacts that these relationships silently cause in you, in your body, in your mind, in your soul. Because sometimes you only realize the damage when it is already too late. You don't need to be insulted to be hurt. You don't need to be attacked to be destroyed. Sometimes what consumes you is exactly what is not seen, not spoken, not named. Emotional draining does not scream. It whispers. It seeps into the subtext of conversations, in the weight of a gaze that judges you in silence, in the constant presence of someone who seems to love you, but who deep down wants you to be smaller. And that's where the danger lies. These people who subtly sabotage you will not take anything from you all at once. They will gradually undermine your strength. First, they make you doubt a choice. Then, they question your confidence. And over time, you start to think twice before expressing yourself, to censor yourself, to mold yourself so as not to disturb. And then, one day, you wake up feeling empty, tired without having done anything, sad for no reason, anxious without cause, because your energy is already gone, and you didn't even see when that happened. This type of draining affects your mind, your body, and your perception of yourself. You start to feel confused, disoriented, as if something is wrong, but you don't know what it is. You begin to compare yourself to others, to think that you are becoming weak, too sensitive, dramatic. But you are not. You are under attack. An invisible, psychological, symbolic attack. A wear and tear attack. Jung spoke about the energy fields that form in human bonds. When two people interact, they do not just exchange words, they exchange psychic energy. And when you connect with someone who envies you, who represses you, who projects onto you everything they refuse to see in themselves, that energy contaminates your field. And no matter how much you try to rationalize, justify yourself, understand the other person's side, your body feels it. Your intuition feels it. Your spirit feels it. But most people ignore these signs. They prefer to keep adapting, pretending that everything is fine, smiling at those who wish for your downfall, because confronting this truth hurts. Because admitting that someone close to you is destroying you takes courage. Courage to say, enough. And courage, as you will see now, is exactly what you will need to break this cycle. In the next part, we will talk about what happens when you finally see the pattern, when the masks fall, when the truth appears in all its rawness. And what you do from that moment on is what defines whether you free yourself or sink even deeper. Are you ready to face it?